Welcome to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. Every Wednesday, Mark and Kim, along with their special guests, will explore thought-provoking topics and ideas that promote creativity, self-help, healing, happiness, and well-being to inspire you on your spiritual journey. Each week, Mark and Kim will discuss different paths to achieving a more spiritual, balanced, happy, and healthy lifestyle. Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience, and all things spiritual. Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. Mark and Kim are tested, certified, and professional spiritual mediums, metaphysical teachers, healers, and spiritual advisors with their own individual spiritual practices in Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
You are the inspired and the inspiration. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful planet of ours. Welcome to Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim here on the Om Times Radio Network. Just want to say thank you so much to our global audience of inspired listeners all around the world for hanging out with us on this live broadcast. Today's topic, what are past lives and why should we care? We're going to have a lot of fun over the next 60 minutes, but we just want to say thanks for hanging out. So sit back, relax. Let's have a inspiring show talking about past lives with our special guest today. Right now, though, I am broadcasting in Seattle, Washington. This is Mark Lanehart, the Intuitive Prospector. I just want to say thanks for listening in and being a part of my journey. Also want to say thank you so much for all of the amazing people that came out on Saturday and visited me at the Conscious Wellness Expo. It's one of the expos I do a year, and I had a lot of people turn out to have a reading and just have a conversation. So it's always so good to put a name to a face and see our inspired listeners. And I just want to give an inspired listener shout out to all of the people that visited me on Saturday. If you want to learn more about the work I'm doing here in Seattle, Washington, you can visit marklanehart.com. You can internet search The Intuitive Prospector. If you want to get out into the mountains, we've got Forest Friday hikes going all throughout the summer. If you want to go diving in the Puget Sound here, beautiful diving, please let me know. I'd love to do a little spiritual prospecting for your own spiritual gold. And you can catch me every Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays live through Facebook on my Intuitive Prospector page. Would love to hang out with you, and we have a lot of fun every Monday morning. So with that, I'm going to bring on my co-host who is on the same coast as me this week. She has traveled all the way from Richmond, Virginia, all the way over to Encino, California, the lovely and talented and beautiful Kim Thalken, founder of Love First. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Mark. Thank you for that. On the West Coast, it is so nice to be back here again. It's always nice to come back. So yes, I am here for the next 2 weeks, and I've been meeting with clients out here. It's nice to visit with everyone again. If you'd like to learn more about my work or even set up some time to meet with me while I am here, I do have some time left, some schedules opening for next week in Encino, and I offer readings, healings, and hypnotherapy, all in the way of raising consciousness. So I'd love to work with you. If you'd like to learn more about the work that I do, you can go to my website, which is lovefirst.info. I do have a special announcement I'd like to make as well. While I'm out here, I'm so excited. I'm going to be speaking about the angels and the angelic realm on Sunday, July 8th at Colby Rebel Spirit Center, which is our colleague from Best American Psychics. She's got a beautiful spiritual center here in Los Angeles at 1792 Kelton Avenue. So if you're around, come check it out. It's going to be my first time there, and I'm so excited. We've got some of our other fellow Bappers that are going to be delivering messages from loved ones, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful time. So come check it out if you're available. It'll run from 10:30 to noon, again on Sunday, July 8th. Now, if you'd like to interact with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook under Inspired Living Radio, Twitter and Instagram under Inspired for Us, Google Plus, Inspired Living with Mark and Kim. And this is where you can not only interact with us, but also find out about upcoming shows. You can send through your questions every week for our guests, or you can also call in live at 202-570-7057. Of course, if you've missed the live broadcast, you can listen to all of our archives on Om Times Radio, Podbean, SoundCloud, markleader.com, YouTube, iTunes, and lovefirst.info. As we have an inspired affirmation for every month, the one for June is, as gratitude becomes a growing part of my life, so does my happiness. Boy, is that true. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves to return to a state of gratitude because we get so caught up in our own lives, and when we return to a state of gratitude, we see that our happiness rises with that. So, Mark, back to you.
Good stuff, Kim. And tell everybody down at when you're doing your talk that I tell them hello at the Colby Rebel Center there, and all the fellow Best American Psychic colleagues. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's always fun to do talks, isn't it? You reach a lot of people and talking about the angels. Give a little bit of angelic realm there. And just,
oh my gosh, Mark, I love it.
It's always fun. So, and I want to let our inspired listeners know, too, if you don't catch the live broadcast that we're broadcasting live right now, we have all those other channels, but also check us out on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Both Kim and I have our playlist, growing playlist here for Inspired Living Radio. Om Times Radio has a library of amazing shows, not just our show, but there's a lot of amazing shows. We've covered 3 seasons of radio and have had a lot of fun along the way. So make sure to get on that subscription for my playlist, Kim's playlist, or the Om Times Radio playlist for Inspired Living Radio. It's a great way to keep up if you can't catch the live broadcast. So we want to get into talking about what are past lives and why should we care. We're going to have our very special guest, Mary Gleason, come on here in just a few minutes, but I want to read a little background about Mary's journey. I always think it's important because a lot of the stuff that we end up getting into is usually based on our own experiences and our own life is learning it from experience. So over 10 years ago, Mary became ill from worry and overwhelm, and I think a lot of us could relate to that. Her physical and mental health were barely functioning. The only way to recover was to let go of everything. She just let go her job, the constant worry, and even food. She observed a total elimination diet that took 4 years to gradually rebuild. All this was so she could begin the healing process. Convinced that Western medicine was eventually killing her, she set out to learn a better, more holistic way to heal and to live. She worked with a practitioner who supported her on all levels, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And during the recovery period, Mary meditated twice a day, and in the silence she began to receive so many messages to know, quote unquote, the many things, hear from past loved ones, meet her spirit guide, and that's when it hit her. This is how she used to live. Somewhere along the way, she stopped listening to her own inner wisdom. Life was happening from outside of her, not from within. Determined to not take this ability for granted anymore, she found a teacher and a mentor to learn language, concepts, and practices so she could call on this gift proactively and to live life more consciously. Today, Mary is healthy, so grateful for the experience, and now working with others to discover how to discover and live into their best self. If you want to learn more about the work Mary is doing here in the Seattle, Washington area, you can visit marygleason.com. You can also send her an email at mary@marygleason.life. I'm sorry, it's marygleason.life, www.marygleason.life. And with that, sounds like we got somebody coughing. Hopefully everything's okay. Mary, welcome to Inspired Living Radio.
Thank you so much, Mark and Kim. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Welcome.
Thanks for being on. Thanks for agreeing to be on Inspired Living Radio and share your journey. I think it's important. You became ill and overwhelmed, and I think a lot of our inspired listeners around the globe could resonate with that right now, especially with the amount of stuff that is going on all around us. It's very chaotic, and people feel overwhelmed, people feel stressed out, and feel we get into disease when we are not connecting with ourselves. And I love that you were convinced that Western medicine would eventually kill you. So let's talk about that on your approach to Western medicine, what you were doing, and we'll get into the past life, but I think it's important for the inspired listeners to get a little bit more background on your journey for health and wellness and going within.
Great. Well, I think too many of us can relate to physicians who keep treating symptoms. And it was just take one more pill, take a little bit more of that pill. It was never a conversation about what's happening for you, how can we help? Here's some antidepressants, here's something for your stomach, here's something for your head. And I was not willing to live like that anymore. And I wasn't getting better. I was, placating symptoms, but I wasn't getting better. And, when I finally figured out that there were other ways to heal, it was like the floodgates opened. And I really feel like that was the beginning of what so many of us call our enlightenment, and letting the light in. And being able to work on how did I let myself get here and how do I make sure I don't go back led me on what I sometimes think of as a magical journey. Because the more I went into understanding what I did to create this situation, the greater power I found I had to resolve it and to take care of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's a lot of line with my own journey as well. And again, we don't get to the root cause analysis. We just treat the symptoms. And with Western medicine, like you said, they just want to give you a pill for everything nowadays. And with my journey of breaking my back twice, everything was about the narcotics. Everything was about hydrocodone, oxycodone. Just prescribing it like it was candy. And we see the epidemic that is now resonating through our society of people overdosing, people having a real addictive problem with that. I mean, by living here in Seattle, Mary, that even the clams that are being harvested off the beaches are showing up with traces of hydrocodone in the shell itself. So that means that we're now saturating into our environment, and it's very concerning. And we've got to look at going within so we can make ourselves healthy, but also at the same time, when we become healthy, we start to contribute to making our planet and our world a healthy place, because it's the only planet we have, right? Unless we've discovered another planet I don't know about. So,
well, there's almost a dichotomy that happens, and that is learning how to take really good care of yourself, which can be seen as selfish. In sort of the road less traveled kind of selfish that says if you're not taking good care of yourself, you're not taking good care of anything. Yeah. And so in that way you become more inner focused and selfish, and then realizing all these barriers and all of these boundaries in our lives are false. That there's such a ripple effect that when we are ailing, everything around us is ailing. And when we take better care of ourselves, and it includes things like eating organic and learning to meditate and finding other ways to address pain, for example, it's taking better care of the planet and the earth, as you're saying, so we have this need sometimes, especially women, to take care of everybody else. And it's a real eye-opener when you find out that's not really what you're doing. You're just making yourself sick, and everybody else is getting that energy and the I don't know, sort of the output, the off-gassing that happens.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I want to talk about this hour, because it's going to go by so quick, and I know this is your first time on Inspired Living Radio. And I just want to let the inspired listeners know that you're also a registered hypnotherapist. You're with the National Guild of Hypnotists with a special focus on past life regression, also known as PLR, spirit guide journeys, soul retrieval, behavioral changes, crime victim recall, and more. And you also have received training in both Reiki levels 1 and 2. And I know that you and I are going to be teaching a workshop in August or September at Inner Alchemy. So if you're listening to this show and you want to find out more information about that upcoming workshop that Mary and I are going to be doing, please visit her site at marygleason.life or my website at marklanehart.com for more information and when that actual date will be. Because we're going to be talking about the human energy field, the auras, and the chakras. It's going to be a lot of fun. But let's get into, because we're going to be going to our very first break here in just about a minute. But let's talk about PLR. Let's talk about past life regression, because it is part of taking care of ourselves. But, you know, do we need to take care of ourselves on many different levels and many different lives? How does that work with PLR?
Well, past life regression just really caught my attention because when I started investigating it, and I had several sessions, and you know, I just had to study it. I had to learn how to do this. I was surprised at the level, how many patterns and consistencies showed up, and how many things that I was, the ways that I was acting, served me in the past that weren't serving me now. And that was such important information for me to have, is, you know, the drivers weren't relevant necessarily to this lifetime. And other things came through saying, oh, I do know how to do this. I do remember. I can handle this. I know what to do now because I had experienced it before. And I just was so amazed with the power of that and the healing that came from visiting past lives, and really learning to understand soul groups and how many choices I consciously and intentionally made to come into this lifetime with the people who are around me. And knowing that they're here to help me fulfill my purpose for this lifetime really changed my whole relationship with how I approached them. And even when I was mad at them, it was with gratitude, and I could see it as how it was making me a better person. Yeah. And so, and of course, I took this course in past life regressions, and then I realized it is one powerful tool in a much larger toolkit. And so I went for the full hypnotherapy over about 2.5 years. I put in about 300 hours of learning how to use hypnotherapy to help other people uncover their aha moments.
Yeah, and we all have had our aha moments. So we're going to be going to our first break here. And, you know, just like you're saying, choices, free will, our greatest responsibility. Why we're here, the power of choice. So when we return in 2 minutes, we're going to be continuing the conversation with our very special guest today, Mary Gleason, here in Seattle, Washington, talking about what are past lives and why should we care. You are the inspired and the inspiration. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
The future of Internet radio is here. Om Times Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Are you seeking answers to life questions? Would you like to connect to a departed loved one? Are you suffering from pain, stress, or anxiety? Kimberly Thalkin is a tested, certified, and professional psychic, spiritual medium, energy healer, hypnotherapist, and the founder of Love First, where life transformations happen. Love First Services support, guide, and empower individuals by connecting them to their highest potential to live a healthier, joyful, and meaningful life that's filled with purpose. All services can be done by phone, Skype, or in person in Encino, California. Please visit lovefirst.info. That's lovefirst.info for more information.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance. Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
I'm Fidel Mshombo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom, everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America, and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Inspired Living with Mark and Kim and our special guest today, Mary Gleason. And today we are focusing our conversation on the benefits of past life regression. So, Mary, thank you again for being with us this hour and for sharing all of the knowledge and experience that you have with the work that you do and how you're supporting other people through some of your own experiences. As you mentioned earlier in the show, you went through a pretty difficult time. And one of the things that you said was that you had to take a look at what was going on inside. And I think that is just so important, because people tend to want to look at what's going on outside as the problem, but we always got to go inside, and then we can clear things up, and then our outside world changes as a result of that. But you spent some time talking a little bit about your experience with hypnosis, and explain a little bit too about what the importance is of, how it can help support someone to understand their soul's history in this lifetime. How does that help people?
Sure. When people come in for a session, the biggest thing they have to do is allow themselves to relax and let their subconscious take over. And for a lot of people, that is so hard to do. The second thing is they need to be prepared to challenge their story. They are absolute. My mother never loved me. They are absolute in I am a victim, and that sort of thing. And as we go through the process and they allow themselves to do the work, one of the things that I like is that I don't have any answers and they have them all. My job is to provide that gentle, safe guidance when they're addressing their subconscious. And there are people who come from hypnotherapy that have no idea they're going to enter a past life. And they say, what the heck was that? And that's where the information is that you needed most. And when we begin to see the patterns of our life, we are not doing it sort of in this conscious way, but with our subconscious, we don't fight it. We just learn from it. And being able to take that information and apply it to what's happening now is very powerful stuff. And it's not always bad. The big surprise is that people find out just how much control they really do have in their life. They don't always have the courage to break the pattern, or at least not right away. But once you see that, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. Once you have that information, once you make that note, whether you take action with it now or down the road, you become increasingly aware of the power you have to create what's happening for you.
I love that, Mary, and I think that you touched on some very important things. When you were talking about the client realizing that they have the answers, they hold the answers, because most people don't understand that about themselves, that all of the answers are inside. And I feel like it's very empowering, right? I mean, they can come to us for a reading and we give them the guidance, right? But then I think that when you go into hypnosis and the person gets to experience it for themselves and see that they know what the answers are to any question it is they could have, it becomes very powerful and they feel empowered, right? I feel like it's always much more empowering when you get to experience directly yourself.
Exactly. That's exactly the distinction I make when I do readings. And I tell people, I don't usually read past lives. You know, if it comes to me, great. But for the most part, the benefit is when you have the aha moment. And that is always deeper when you do it yourself. And the number one question I get from people is, wow, that was amazing. How do I know it was real? And I love that question. But my response is very disappointing because I ask them, does it matter if it was real? If you can take meaning from your dreams, if you can take meaning from reading parables, if you can take meaning from things that you read or experience in life, trust this, that it doesn't matter if you believe it's real. Nobody's asking you to believe anything, but did you get information that's helpful to you? How does it feel? What, you know, look, where did you feel that? Oh, I felt it in my gut. I felt it in my heart. I just knew. Stop looking for proof. Right. Just go with the feeling. And I know last week your guest touched on that, and I just loved that she said that, because that's my thing, is let go of the need for proof. Trust you above all else. Trust you.
Right. That's that human aspect of us that always wants proof, right?
Well, we don't want to be made a fool of.
Well, that's the human aspect too. That's the ego too. So we're trying to transcend all of that. Right, right. Now, what about,
therefore I am.
Yes. Now, Mary, what about people that come to you and they feel scared? They don't know what to expect. Am I going to do or say something that, you know, is going to be embarrassing? Or what if I can't do it? What's the right way to do this?
Well, Kim, I'm sure you experience this in your practice as well. And the thing that I tell people that they're surprised about is you will know what's happening. Yeah. You can have the ability to get up and go to the bathroom and come back and still be entranced. If the house is on fire, the office is on fire, you get up and get out. It's not that kind of blank out thing, because we're going to be communicating and you're going to be doing the work, and you can't do the work if you're alone in your head. The biggest misconception that I think I have is people think they're going to get nice and relaxed and I'm going to do some mumbo jumbo, and they're not going to know why they're just all fixed. And it's like, oh, no, actually, that's not going to happen. But the other thing is what I do is not a parlor trick. People are not going to cluck like chickens and do silly things on command. I don't like that. That's hypnotists at a party. This is hypnotherapy. This is therapy where you do the work. And my job is to hold that very safe space for you that allows you to let go and just go with what's coming to you without question. And I, take a lot of notes, And my clients will say, I mean, I had one man who was like, oh, past lives, what a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And then he created this whole safe space, and then he created this other thing. And I said, where are you? What are you doing? He says, well, I'm part fish and I'm part man, and I don't know what to do with that. And then he said, I said, well, what's around you? And he said, well, there's other fish. And I said, well, ask one of them what's going on. And then he just started laughing. He said, they said I won't be here long, and now I'm walking up on Earth. And he was totally remembering the evolution of man from a personal level. Mm-hmm. Now, was that a past life? I don't know. He doesn't know. But what was interesting was he was able to relate that to something that was actually happening and causing a lot of the problem that he was coming to face. It had real meaning for him, that he was evolving into something new, and that he could communicate with other things around him that would provide him guidance.
Mm-hmm. I always find that it's amazing how the subconscious mind knows exactly where to take you. That's perfect in that mm-hmm. moment, and nobody can predict or anticipate what's going to happen.
That's what I say. I can do the same thing all day long and never have the same experience twice, which is wonderful, because it tells me that I'm really doing a good job of not leading people to anything, but guiding them. I will say the number one thing that I work on my clients with is to have that question that they really want answered, because they will come with, I want to stop smoking, I overeat, I'm always anxious, I don't sleep well. And well, this is a lovely list of symptoms. So what do you really want? And I must ask that to the point where they want to kill me sometimes. But what do you really want? I want to take better care of myself. What do you really want? I want to feel good in my own body. What do you really want? I want to love me. Okay, now we have a place to start.
There you
go. So we're always taking it down, and then it's like, well, where is your story that told you that loving you is not a good idea? And then we start to build from there. And then I say, okay, that's a good question. My mother never loved me, wherever it takes them. That's a good thing. So let's go back and look at a little bit, if I'm going to do past lives, I said, let's just look at the history of you and your mother's souls. And what was your agreement coming into this lifetime? And that is such powerful stuff. I don't know what their past was like, and I don't know what their agreement was, but they do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it may be that their mother agreed to push them harder this time. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just listening to what you're saying, Mary, it helps people see that they're not a victim of somebody else or something, that everything is happening divinely as it's supposed to. Everybody's playing out the roles they agreed to play for each other. I think once you understand that, then you can work with it a lot more easily. You can navigate your way through things with greater ease, because you shift your own perspective on the dynamic, right?
You do. You come out with gratitude of, oh my gosh, they said they'd help me accomplish this, and they did. But one thing I know for sure is those energetic taps that we get, that the universe is trying to get our attention all the time. And it's not until sometimes we get hit over the head, like, boom, cancer. Oh, now I'm listening. Boom, car accident. Okay, now I'm listening, or hitting bottom in some way. But if you look back, there's been a number of ways the universe has been trying to get your attention. Mm-hmm. And so we get to decide where bottom is too. And I'll tell you, after having hit bottom about a dozen years ago, all of a sudden, I don't give that up. I'm not going back there. I'm going to pay attention. And it's not going back there by denying what's happening. It's about addressing everything as it comes up and finding out why I might be doing that or why that might be happening. what I'm going to change to make it different, or what I'm going to nurture to increase it. And I just live much more consciously now, and I love to help my clients do that. When they see the patterns and when they see the soul agreements that they have, their life changes, their approach to life changes.
Mm-hmm. And I love how you said, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to listen because that's what will happen. We'll have to learn the hard way if we don't listen. So let's just not, let's work our way through with as much ease as possible. But what happens when maybe a negative situation comes up in one of your sessions? And I don't even know what negative would mean, but if something less favorable comes up.
Yeah, I mean, people have what we call abreactions a lot of the time. So they get scared, or they remember something and that may have happened to them when they were a child in this lifetime, or as a child in a past lifetime. And that visceral response is as if it's happening now, kind of thing. And I think people get very afraid of what they don't know, because sometimes we're hiding that from ourselves, and they get very afraid of what they do know. And so my job then is to remind them that they are safe, that they have the ability to freeze what's happening and step into their adult self and take a look around, that they don't need to relive it to understand it. And one of the big, it's that inner child work, and people are always amazed. Oh my gosh, well, of course I was frightened then. I was 6. I'm not 6 now. You can't bully me around. And taking back that power and loving that child and saying, did the best they could. You're going to take it from here, and all of that. And it's amazing how often some of those things have happened in a past life.
Ah, interesting. Okay. So
they're still being triggered.
They're replaying that until they clear that.
Yeah,
up.
and
okay.
Or they're constantly recreating it.
Okay, so that is our last break here. So we're going to be going into break for 2 minutes. Stay with us, and we'll be right back with our guest, Mary Gleason. Stay with us.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Have you wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Mark Lanehart, the intuitive prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Mark's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream. Dare to explore. Dare to live. For more information on Mark's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marklanehart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Tune in to The Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
America's service members and veterans are strong, forged out of bravery, sacrifice, and duty. Sometimes reaching out for help can be the most challenging and worthwhile mission of all. When you recognize something isn't right, make the call to the Veterans Crisis Line or Military Crisis Line. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1.
And welcome back to Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim. The last section of this show is sponsored by Prime My Body Hemp Awareness, from soil to oil, and one of the best absorption-rated nano-enhanced hemp oils on the market. An all-natural, plant-based supplement with no psychoactive highs and legal in all 50 states. From liquid hemp oil, hemp-infused skin moisturizer, hemp protein superfood, or a simple liver detoxification system, start achieving your health and wellness goals naturally from the leaves and rootstock of this amazing, healing, and ancient plant, hemp. Your health is your wealth. For more information, please visit awareness.primemybody.com. And that is a sponsor for the last half of this show. And Mary, we are in the last half of our show. I told you it goes very, very quickly. We're having a lot of fun here talking about past life regression. What is it? Why does it matter to our inspired listeners? Having a really great conversation with the healing aspect of it. I was thinking on your response to when your clients say, you know, is this real? And you say, does it matter? It's very similar to what I tell my clients, and something I was just talking about on my Mocha Monday show about our own thoughts and the power of thought, because the past, if you think about it for a second, is not real. The future is not real. It's our thoughts and our memories that play into our past that make that past real, or it's our imagination that makes our future real. But technically, past and future don't exist yet. It's about being in the present moment. And I believe that would tie into the past life regression as well, and getting those glimpses of either being a fish and, you know, the evolution of going from fish to man, or I know I've done it a couple times, and definitely wasn't Cleopatra. I know a lot of people think that they're Cleopatra, but it was a very interesting journey for me. But let's continue the conversation for the last half of this show. If you want to visit with Mary personally here in the Seattle, Washington area, please make sure to visit her site, marygleason.life, L-I-F-E. You can also send her an email at mary@marygleason.life. But let's continue the conversation, Mary, on past life regression and really get into the meat of this sandwich is, why should we care? Why should our inspired listeners care about past life regression?
People should care about the choices they make and why they make them, because we tend to just make them without really thinking about things. There's an impulse part or an immediate response to stimuli that's coming at us. And when we are carrying things that don't have any relation in this life, then we spend our time resisting what is and trying to make things be what we knew them to be. And if there are times in our lives when we think that we are alone with this crazy idea, or alone with this thought, or I can't believe people are acting this way around me, we can go in and just look. And keep in mind that a past life can also be earlier in this lifetime. Yesterday is the past, and there's information there. So the idea that people should care is because they want to make the progress and learn the lessons that they set out to do in this lifetime. We've all set goals and lessons for this lifetime. I don't believe any of us have been sent here. We chose the next leg of our journey, and we chose who's going to go there with us. And since we somehow get that socialized out of us by the age of 4, we have to make a conscious effort to revisit it and to constantly remind ourselves so that we can learn what we came here to learn. I don't want to do this life over again. I want to be a more evolved soul the next time around. And that information really, really helps us.
Yeah, and that's why I always use the acronym for life. Learn it from experience. Come here different ways. Come as a man, come as a woman, come as a fish. Learn it from experience, because it's the only way that we're going to know and grow and transform for all of that. And I'm just thinking, Mary, when you work with people from I know in your bio you talked about assisting crime victims and recalling. Mm-hmm. How does that play into the psychology, and can any of that actually be used in a court of law, as far as, if people are recalling something, or is it more just for the person mm-hmm. themselves and not anything to do with the legality aspect of working with people that have been impacted from crimes?
So, no, I will tell you right off the bat, this isn't admissible in a court of law. Okay. However, people remember details that might be helpful in solving something. But I'll tell you, first and foremost, our brain is very protective of us. And when we get traumatized, it tends to make us to allow us not to remember, so that we can just heal, because every time we remember, we're re-traumatized. And yet there are some people who don't like not knowing, or they know that there's information there that's being blocked that could be helpful, or they really want to challenge because it can take over your life. You can become a victim. You can become afraid to leave the house. You can be afraid to stay in the house, whatever happened to you or what you witnessed. So crime victims, first and foremost, are mad at themselves, or witnesses are mad at themselves for not being able to remember, like, what is wrong with me? Or they don't believe there's more information. So the interesting thing is that the conscious mind takes in one thing at a time, but the subconscious takes it all in, all at the same time. And so when people can allow themselves to be relaxed and to feel safe and take the journey, and they revisit certain events, they really are able to recall a lot. And my job is to make sure that they feel safe, that there's some distance between them and the experience, so that they're not reliving it and feeling traumatized all over again. Sure. But, we start out with, what was your happiest memory as a young child? What is your happiest memory as a teenager, in your 20s, in your 30s? And then proving to them over and over again the incredible amount of information they really do have in their mind and are able to retain, and then finding a way for them to envision what happened to them at a safe distance. And it's amazing the things that they can recall. And the relief to them is huge.
Yeah, the release and healing, right, that take place for something like that. And it's a reminder of how powerful this supercomputer that sits mm-hmm. on top of our shoulders is, the mind, mindfulness, visualization, memory recall, manifestation, meditation. I know you talked about in your journey meditating twice a day, and some people don't meditate at all, and definitely would highly recommend it. Changed my life, put me on the spiritual path where I'm at today, as mm-hmm. far as going within and quieting the mind. It gets kind of like what Rumi talked about, the more silent and still we become, the more we actually hear. And there is a lot of truth to that journey.
Absolutely. We have to clear time. It's almost like making an appointment with spirit. Mm-hmm. They know when you're going to sit down, and they can find you, and they can bring you information. And people sometimes confuse prayer and meditation, and I encourage mm-hmm. both. But I like to think of it as prayer as speaking to God or to spirit or the universe, whatever, and meditation as listening to God, spirit, universe. And they do have a lot to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing, Mark, is people are afraid of what they're going to find. And I just have a spoiler spoiler alert, and that is, it's all
alert.
love.
Hold on. Let me give you some chimes. Hold on.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, it's all love. It's all love. Even if it can seem a little painful or a little harmful, the love that is there for you on your journey, the lack of judgment, this is your journey. And this is what you've chosen. And now what would you like to choose is really amazing. I was really shaming myself with the shoulds and oughts in life. And now I realize, no, I needed those to get me to where I am now. Mm-hmm. And I need to honor that.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on the prayer versus meditation. Do both, because it's vibration going out, your thoughts going out to whatever your belief system is, something higher than yourself. And meditation is sitting back and waiting for that vibration to return, because everything that vibrates out does return, as far as how we understand the laws of physics today, right? So meditation is that listening back for that vibration, for that answer, for that knowledge, or, the anagram of listen and silent, right? Switch the letters around, they have two different meanings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as we get into the last few minutes of the show here, Mary, one of the things that's actually it's just kind of come into my mind is what Lao Tzu talked about. New beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. And I think that past life regression could also play into that, because it could help you, memory recall of something that is a painful ending of something, but in the same sense, it could be a new beginning for your journey, the caterpillar becoming the butterfly, but it only becomes a butterfly through an intense struggle in the cocoon, right? And that, so as you were saying that kind of came to mind what Lao Tzu talked about.
Absolutely. And there is a sense of like a rebirth when you do this. The nicest thing about past life regression with a trained hypnotherapist is that it can soften it. It can make it more understood, easily understood for you, rather than harsh for you. It may feel like, one woman, her husband was very abusive, and it was very gradual over 25 years of marriage, and she finally had to get out. And 10 years later, when she was doing past life regression, we went to the place that she goes between lives. And she recalled how they came into a soul agreement where he'd been with her several lifetimes trying to get her to stand up for herself. And she said, "Oh my God, he kept his promise to me. I just didn't listen until it got out of control." And she said, "Do I want to go back to him? No. But am I grateful to him? Yes, and that's something I never thought I would be." So what was a painful ending became a powerful step in her journey that she now valued.
Yeah, that new beginning. So I know you do a lot of readings and hypnotherapy sessions here in the Seattle area, the Pacific Northwest, and you teach workshops. What do you enjoy most about your work?
I love when people have their own aha moments. When I'm with the workshops, one of the most fun things is what people bring to add to each group that wasn't in any other group. And just the privilege of working with people who are ready to do the work. People who come for hypnotherapy have usually tried everything else first. And now they're ready to get unstuck. And that is a responsibility and a privilege to work with them. And I just enjoy that intensely.
And we're going to go into rapid fire because we only have about a minute left here. What inspires you, or who inspires you?
Oh, geez. What or who inspires me?
Put you on the spot.
Thanks a lot. I have to say that Maya Angelou provided a lot of insight for me about how you take what's happened to you in life and turn it into, give it meaning. I think she'd be a big one. I actually have to call out Oprah. That woman went through a terrible life early in her years and found a way to put it to service. So I think those are really important people. And then there's my grandmother, who nobody really loved her the way she needed to be loved as a child. And she grew up to be so loving. And I wonder, where did she learn that? And how did she bring that forward? And, you know, how lucky I am to have benefited from her being able to still find the love and feel loved.
Yeah, powerful stuff. Good stuff. Well, if you want to work with Mary Gleason here in the Seattle, Washington area, please visit her site at marygleason.life. You can also send her an email at mary@marygleason.life. I want to give an inspired listener shout out to our mutual friend. We have a mutual friend and colleague, Sammy O'Neill, who is celebrating her 50th birthday today. So happy birthday, Sammy.
Happy birthday, Sammy.
She said she'd be listening to the podcast. She's traveling right now, so just wanted to wish her happy birthday. But Mary, I want to thank you so much for being on Inspired Living Radio today. And
thank you. I've enjoyed it, and it did go very fast.
It does. I told you, it goes by in a blink of the eye. And Kim and I will be back next week, every Wisdom Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Kim, anything else you want to add to before we close?
No, I just want to say thank you so much, Mary. You shared a lot of your own wisdom today, and I think it's nice because people don't understand a lot of times how hypnosis can support them on their own path of healing and how some really great things can come from it. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Kim.
With us.
And I'd like to just also share phone works as well.
Phone works as well. Awesome. Well, thanks, Mary.
Phone works.
And,
yep. Bye-bye.
We'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in. Again, what are past lives and why should we care? This is Inspired Living Radio with Mark and Kim. Until next week, be kind, be caring, be compassionate. Namaste.